As they got near the entrance while all the paparazzi were snapping photos, Vito Booker got Britney's attention and tried to pressure her to go out with him. Kevin didn't hesitate to insult the man. Vito's facial expression changed instantly. He stared at Kevin fiercely and said, "Who the hell are you talking to? Don't think that you're just special because you're at Britney's side. You're just a stinking bodyguard." "Please show more respect, Mr. Booker. You're talking to the CEO of Williams Media," Charity informed him. "What the hell are you talking about? Your CEO is just a spoiled brat who isn't even old enough to grow a beard," Vito sneered. "And what's he doing wearing sunglasses at night? His future doesn't look that bright to me." "And you don't know how to keep your mouth shut," Kevin said angrily. Actually, Kevin had decided to wear sunglasses so that no one could recognize him. He'd almost pulled it off until he ran into this dumbass Vito Booker. "What the hell did you say?" Vito replied furiously. "So what if you're the head of Williams Media? How many connections could a brat who's still wet behind the ears have anyway?" Then Vito got in Kevin's face and shoved his finger in his chest as he shouted, "I'm not afraid to tell you this. If you know what's good for you, you'll turn Britney over to me right now. Otherwise, Williams Media will disappear from the entertainment industry in a New York minute." The altercation attracted a lot of attention, but no one came forward to stop him. First of all, they knew how much influence Vito had, and second of all, no one knew how powerful Kevin was, so they wisely chose to stay out of it. "If you want to keep your finger, you'll take it back right now," Kevin said coldly. He hated having people scold him like that. "Who do you think you are?" Two burly men immediately walked over and stood next to him. They were security experts that he had spent a large amount of money to hire. "There are too many people out here. If you have the guts, follow me to the men's room," Vito said with a confident sneer. "No problem. Do you really think I'm afraid of you?" Kevin retorted. "It just so happens that I have a score to settle with you." Kevin had been wondering why Britney was so popular but couldn't get any advertising contracts lately. It was only when he heard Vito threaten her that he understood the source of the problem. "If you knew any better, you'd be very afraid right now. But if you're foolish enough to face me, I'll be waiting for you," Vito warned him. Then he left with his men. When the crowd saw this, they all shook their heads. Kevin had led Williams Media brilliantly lately, but he was still very young and they knew how powerful Vito was. In the entire entertainment industry, nobody dared to stand up to him, so a lot of bystanders were worried about the future of Williams Media. It would be a shame for the leading company in Chicago to collapse just like that. However, Kevin wasn't afraid at all. He'd been dealt a good hand, but he just hadn't shown all his cards to the public yet. Also, Kevin could tell that Vito's two bodyguards would be no match for him. He could beat them with one hand tied behind his back. "Please, Kevin, don't go." Britney tugged on Kevin's arm and pleaded with him as he started walking towards the men's room to fight with Vito. "Kevin, listen to me. Don't let your emotions affect your decisions. The Booker Phoenix Corporation is very powerful in the entertainment industry. We don't want to start any conflict with them," Charity said as she also tried to persuade him. Although she had only been involved in the entertainment industry for a short time, Charity had a general understanding of the situation. She knew very well that Vito wasn't someone you should provoke. "Kevin, let's just forget about it," Britney urged him. She thought that Kevin was only doing this to stand up for her. "It's okay. We're all adults here. But don't worry. We're not going to fight in a public place like this," Kevin said casually. Before Britney and Charity could say anything else, Kevin had already headed to the restroom, which made the two women very anxious. When he walked through the door, Kevin saw Vito lighting up a cigar. His two goons were standing next to him. Then Vito looked at Kevin fearlessly and said, "Since you're the CEO of Williams Media, you must be a reasonable man. Well, I can be reasonable too. We both know you were wrong, so why don't you just apologize and let me have Britney? Then we can forget this whole thing ever happened," Kevin growled as he glared at Vito. Then he walked past him to one of the stalls. "You don't know what's good for you, do you?" His two bodyguards moved in to attack Kevin. "Go ahead, but you're only going to embarrass yourselves," Kevin said calmly as he reached out and quickly grabbed one of the men by the wrist. When he twisted it, the sound of bones breaking echoed throughout the tiled room. The man screamed in pain and dropped to his knees. Kevin tossed him aside and stopped the other man's fist at the same time. He redirected the blow to throw the man against the wall. "Get off me, you clumsy bastard!" Vito roared as he tried to push his bodyguard off of him. But as soon as Vito got to his feet, Kevin turned around and kicked him in the gut. "Are you having fun yet, Vito?" "Damn it!" Vito roared at his bodyguards. "What the hell am I paying you guys for?" The two men were in such pain they struggled to stand up. When they were about to attack Kevin again, he calmly asked them, "Do you really want to go through that again?" Hearing this, the two of them stopped in their tracks and looked at Kevin with fear in their eyes. They had never felt such power. "You're both useless," Vito said as he fought with all his strength to stand up. "You bastard! Williams Media is finished now, and so are you." "Is that so?" Kevin replied as he bent down and lifted Vito off the ground. "And just how are you going to do that?" Then Kevin punched Vito in the stomach, making the man's face twist in agony. "Have you ever had a swirly?" Kevin said as he kicked open the door to one of the toilet stalls. He dragged Vito straight into it. "What are you going to do, you son of a bitch?" Vito gritted his teeth and roared. "You'll know soon," Kevin answered as he grabbed Vito by the hair and shoved his head into the bowl. What made it worse was that the water had that blue disinfectant in it. Vito struggled desperately to pull his face out of the toilet bowl. Kevin suddenly let go of the man's head and took a step back. Vito was relieved to get some air. He turned around and yelled at Kevin with hatred in his eyes. "You're a dead man." Vito stood there with his smug face and his designer suit dripping from blue toilet water, wishing he could cut Kevin into pieces. He'd never suffered such humiliation since the day he was born. "What are you still standing there for? If this guy doesn't die right now, then I'll damn sure kill the two of you," Vito shouted at his bodyguards. After hearing this threat to their lives, the two goons overcame their fear of Kevin and attacked him again. "Don't say I didn't warn you," Kevin growled as he moved to meet their attack. He grabbed the first man by the head and bounced him off the bathroom wall. Then he kneed the guy between the legs. The man's eyes rolled up into his head and he dropped to the floor. It hurt so much he couldn't even scream. Kevin didn't stop there. He quickly turned around and kicked the other man in the crotch, dropping him to the floor in the fetal position. Finally, Kevin walked back over to Vito. He plugged his nose and said, "You know, Mr. Booker, you really could use a bath." "Just wait and see. You're a dead man," Vito growled. "I know. You already said that a minute ago. This is getting kind of boring," Kevin said as he kneed Vito in the crotch. He immediately dropped to the floor and growled, "You son of a bitch." "Such language," Kevin said mockingly. "You know, I think I need to wash your mouth out." Then Kevin grabbed Vito by the collar and pushed his head into the toilet again. While this was going on, Britney and Charity were anxiously waiting outside the bathroom door. "Charity, why don't we just go inside and take a look?" Britney said in a soft voice. "But it's the men's room and there are so many people around," Charity said hesitantly. Even though she said that, she was very worried about Kevin. "But we really can't wait any longer," Britney said anxiously. She really wanted to make sure that Kevin was all right. Charity took a deep breath and seemed to have made up her mind. "Let's go." The two women looked around and opened the men's room door. "Mr. Williams, are you okay?" Britney asked worriedly as she entered the room. But when they saw the scene in the bathroom, their jaws almost dropped to the floor. Vito's entire upper body was stained with blue toilet water. He was draped across the toilet bowl, moaning in pain. His two bodyguards were lying on the floor, writhing around. Kevin was just standing casually in front of one of the urinals, whistling while he peed. Vito's goons had interrupted him when he walked in the room earlier. "What the heck are you two doing in here?" Kevin asked when he saw the women. Charity and Britney were stunned for a second before they both let out a scream. Even though he was facing the other way, they covered their eyes and ran out. They were both thinking the same thing. "We really shouldn't have gone in there. How embarrassing." "Do you still want to keep playing this game, Vito?" Kevin asked coldly as he walked over to the man. Please let me go. It's all my fault. I won't bother Britney anymore." Vito sobbed. He wasn't only afraid of more pain and humiliation, Vito was genuinely afraid for his life. But he had also decided that once he got out of there, he would find a way to destroy Williams Media and make Kevin pay for this beating. "Why weren't you this cooperative earlier?" Kevin said as he shook his head and walked out of the men's room. When he got back to the hotel lobby, Kevin looked around, but he couldn't find Britney and Charity. "Damn it," Kevin said to himself. "Now I also smell like disinfectant." He wished he could change his clothes. Kevin took out his phone to send a text to Britney as he was heading toward the door. On the way, he accidentally bumped into a woman and dropped his phone. As he stooped down to pick his phone up off the floor, he heard someone scolding him. "Why don't you watch where you're going?" the woman snarled coldly. "Do you know how expensive my clothes are? Could you even afford to have them cleaned?" "Well, didn't you also bump into me?" Kevin said in amazement. "What kind of security guard are you? How dare you blame Miss Maya Hughes after bumping into her? Do you want to lose your job?" The woman's assistant berated him. "You're threatening my job," Kevin said calmly. "I've never heard of Maya Hughes. Are you sure she could make me lose my job?" "Where are you from? You don't know who Miss Hughes is?" the assistant replied coldly. "Have you heard of the Booker Phoenix Corporation? She's the most popular celebrity in all of Booker Phoenix." Kevin laughed when he heard this. Whoever this woman was, she was only one of their clients. After what he just did to Vito Booker, why would he be afraid of one of the man's underlings? This was turning into quite a fun evening.
Hi, Kevin here. If you're wondering what happens next, then stay tuned on the Pocket FM Universe channel for more episodes.